Welcome to Come to Daddy, the podcast for people who fly business class but put their kids in cargo with the other pets. I don't want to say I've got mummy issues, but it's in my rider that every time I get out of a hot tub, I get held upside down and spanked by a nurse. Amanda.
Here she is.
She is. Do you know it's the boo-boo. Huh.
Turn the tables on Reuben.
Oh my God. Do you have another table?
I'm going to ask him a couple of questions that he would normally launch at our unsuspecting guests. And I'm going to say to him, favourite meal growing up.
Growing up, Dad used to make lamb cutlets. Great. This is going to sound like a gag, and it's not, but one of the games that my dad and I used to play was who could chew the lamb cutlet down and get the cleanest bone, and whoever got the cleanest. And I see now how this feels formative, right? I get it. But that was, and even now, I like chewing on cartilage and gristle, or you know that beak at the end of the chicken's breast. It's just the cartilage.
I'm a vegan.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. This is actually, I didn't mean this. And chicken soup, my grandmother's chicken soup, which I still try and get right.
I'm regretting this on every level.
Well,
that
we're
is
Polish.
possible.
We're Polish, Russian, German Jews. We're not made for tofu. We're made to hide from Cossacks in the snow.
I'm going to get
Out.
away.
So let's get into it. My guest today grew up labelled as a tomboy, Dad ran a sex shop, and Mum just loves it when she tells lies about her. Let the Come to Daddy unpacking begin, and welcome Angela Barnes. We're going to dive straight in with the parental questionnaire. Quickfire answers only. Names of parents.
Derek and Linda, how 80s.
Oh,
It's so 80s.
I can hear the hair.
Yeah, right.
Do you think Mum will listen to this?
I think so. She might not tell me, but I'm pretty sure she stalks everything I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sometimes something will come up and I'm like, how did you know that? You listened to a thing I did. So,
That's
yeah,
camp.
I
like
think she
that.
does.
Do you like it when she surprises you like that?
Kind of, although it does mean that then everything I do, I'm thinking, your mum's going to hear this. So it does make you filter a bit. So, hi, Mum, if you're listening. I haven't filtered. Sorry. So, listeners won't know that I've just been filling you in on all the gruesome details of the menopause. Hooray!
I'm here for it. No, we'll use it. We'll use it. They'll get the credits kind of halfway into the podcast, like a Fellini film or some shit. Welcome. So this is a podcast we kind of talk about parents, childhood, how that sets you up, how that influences you as a comedian. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot to get into, but before we dig in, we'll get a few like little basic setting in questions. Yeah. What was your childhood bedroom like?
My childhood bedroom. So we moved around a fair bit in my childhood, but the one I remember, because I was so excited, I remember going to B&Q to pick out the wallpaper.
So explain to me what a B&Q is.
So B&Q is like a hardware store, but like a chain of big hardware stores in the UK. And we went to pick out the wall. In fact, I think it was pre-B&Q because I'm old. It might have been a Texas Home Care. All right.
Texas Home Care sounds grim.
It
is it
was
just
pretty
shotguns
grim.
and prams?
Absolutely. Just men in chaps, but not in a good way. And we walked in and I spotted this wallpaper and it had like fairy castles on it and little fairies. And my mum and dad both were like, are you sure that's what you want? And I was like, yeah, I want the fairies. I want the fairies. And then, so they did it. And I was like, after about a week, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm a fairy girl. This has been a terrible mistake. And then I remember there being an argument with my mum because I wanted to paint over it. And I really loved the Adrian Mole books when I was growing up. And Adrian Mole painted his bedroom black.
Yep.
And I really wanted to, but she absolutely wouldn't let me paint my bedroom black. And I started doubling down. I was like, I want to paint my bedroom black and then I want to sleep in a coffin. And it's like, no, I don't think that's going to happen. So I had this fairy wallpaper for far too long.
Where in London was this, or where in England was this?
This was in Kent. So I grew up in Maidstone in Kent. Yeah.
What's Maidstone like?
Just think of a boring town.
Right.
Like, it's a typical sort of, I'm being mean, but I can. I feel about my hometown like I feel about a sibling. Like, I can slag it off, but if anyone else does, I'm going to defend it. You know?
Fair.
But it's sort of, you know, a market town, a typical British market town.
Yeah, a black bedroom and a coffin for a bed isn't really...
It's not very Maidstone, yeah. But I remember, because I went away to university, and I remember coming back after my first year at university, and I'd had my eyebrow pierced and my nose pierced, and I was wearing, like, sort of funky clothes. It was the 90s, you know. And I remember going to the pub I'd always been to with my friend Aaron, and, walked in, and this guy called me a freak in the pub. And this phrase has always stuck me. Erin just went, she's not a freak, she's just a bit quirky. And I've just always gone, thanks, I think. You know what I mean?
I feel like quirky is quirky is a derogatory word we use for women in so many different things, from TV to books.
She's not normal.
She's quirky.
Yeah. She's a bit, ooh.
She loves to accessorize.
But it was always in a kind of, not in a, there was that dream, the sort of manic pixie dream girl way of being quirky, you know, where, and I always used to watch them on TV, oh God, here comes the menopause now. What's her name? The one from New Girl.
Zoe Deschanel.
Zoe Deschanel. You know, she's also cooking and she's manic and she's like, also looks like a model.
Yeah.
And sorry, if she's
Is a
so
size
clumsy
6.
and wacky, where are all the bruises over her arms? Because I grew up covered in bruises.
Dewy, snow white skin, perfect red lips,
Please.
not a mark on her.
Please.
She'd be covered in scars. Where are the oven scars from where she's forgotten to
Right,
use oven
all
mitts?
up my wrist. It looks like I've been cutting myself. I've got so many burns on my
I've
wrist.
just been making muffins.
Exactly.
Hey, my parents love to cook. Did your parents love to cook?
No.
No.
My parents famously not great. Oh, Mum, I feel so bad. But you're not a great cook. You know you're not.
We all have gifts.
The thing is, I say that my mum's not a great cook. She might be now, but my mum worked full time when I was growing up. So until I was 9, which is when my parents divorced, my dad's mum lived with us. So my nan lived with us.
Right.
So we basically ate what I call war food. Because my nan, she cooked and fair play to her, she cooked everything from scratch.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't processed food in the house. But it was, stew and dumplings. It was, everything had sausage meat in it somewhere. So it was cheap meat, and because that's just what she knew to cook, So that's what, and so my friends would have like potato waffles and Findus crispy pancakes. And then when my parents split up and my mum was working full time and I went to a childminder, I come home and that's what I got. Careful what you wish for, guys.
Right.
It turns out a stew. Much better than a Findus crispy pancake.
Because I was raised in a family with like Russian Polish immigrants, so just everything was made. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh no, I just want normal food, and then you go there and you realize, like, oh,
this is grim.
Yeah, this is rough. It also doesn't have any love in it.
No.
None at all. Was there a comfort meal in your family home?
So I don't want to name another podcast, but I did mention this on another podcast, and
you can name another podcast.
I mentioned this particular comfort food on Off Menu, and I
Great
still
podcast.
get daily messages about it. But I'm going to say it again because it's just true, and it's still my comfort food to this day. Is I like nothing more when I just want to chill out and watch TV. I will make a bowl of peas with salad cream.
Oh my God, that's grim.
I know.
That's a suicide note in Comic Sans.
It's grim, but it's just. I will just heat up some peas, mix them up with some salad cream, and that to me is. I had it last night with fish fingers.
Hot peas and salad
Hot
cream.
peas and salad cream.
Great band name.
Yeah.
That's the name.
If I wasn't 47, you look like you'd call Childline right now. Oh my God, get this one out.
Are you an only
That's
child?
what that was. So it's complicated. So I'm the only child from my mum and dad.
Right.
And then they divorced when I was 9. And then they both went on to have a son each. And then I've got stepsisters as well. So I've got 2 half brothers, 2 stepsisters.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got 4 stepsisters from other,
Right.
no biological relation, and 1 biological brother.
Yeah.
At parents' evening, is that like the school parents?
Yeah, go on,
So
that's
in Australia, we've got parent-teacher interviews, and at my parent-teacher interviews, my parents used to go, "Oh, we're finally going to get Reuben to knuckle down and do some schoolwork, and the teachers and us will be on completely the same side because no one's going to fall for his bullshit." And then they get there, and the teacher would go, "God, I love having Reuben in my class. He's just such a charming boy." And my parents were like, "He's failing, and you're eating out of his palm of his hand." What was parent-teacher nights for you like?
So this is when my parents divorced. They would take it in turns to go to my parent-teacher. They weren't parents who could get it together. They were not going to be in the same room at the same time.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So they would alternate, and because I was a bit of a teacher's pet, a bit of a good girl at school. I would always, I never worried about parent-teacher evenings because I knew I was doing well. I knew I was top of the class. I knew I worked hard. I knew blah, 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 blah. Always going to be fine. And they'd come home and go, well done. So my dad, this is when I was a bit older, so I was about 14. And my dad just went, "Oh, I got your parents' evening this week. It's really boring. They just blow smoke up your ass." The thing is, when your dad's a rebel, you don't have to be.
Yeah.
Right? It's pointless.
Yeah.
There was nothing I could do that would shock my dad.
You can't rebel against a rebel.
You can't rebel against a rebel. Like, I couldn't shock him. And sometimes I think he looked at me and went, how have I created this boring child that just does as she's told and reads
Lefty
books?
child of academia.
I remember him once, one of the summer holidays, him like making fun of me because I just didn't stop reading all holidays. Like, oh, you're so boring. You've always got your nose in a book.
I think bullying starts in the home and should.
Absolutely. So he just went, oh, it's so boring. I'm going to spice it up a bit. Your parent, when I see your form tutor tonight. And I had my form tutor was this lovely lady. She was the textiles teacher and her name was Mrs. Wren and she called everyone Petal. And so it was an all-girls school and this teacher was just really lovely. And so my dad would go to all the different subject teachers and then they'd go to your form tutor for a sort of overall, how's she doing? And so he said, and this teacher used to wind my dad up because she was so nice, and he was like, she's so nice. And so he genuinely, so my dad was diabetic and he used to use hypodermic needles because he never got on with the fancy new pen thing.
Sure.
So he used old-fashioned hypodermics. And so he took one in with him and some tin foil and he sat across from my teacher and she was like, oh, Angela's doing really well. It's really, all the teachers. And my dad went, I just don't understand it. Like, what I hear about her here is so different to how she is at home. She's so difficult. She's this, that, and the other. And then and I found these in her bag. And I don't know what to do. I just got them out and put them on the table. And to which my teacher, obviously, that's the last thing she expected to see, was this studious, quiet girl.
Is this why she always wears long sleeves?
Exactly.
She never wears sandals. We can't see between her toes.
The thing is as well, like I do, I have bags under my eyes that are genetic. We all have them in our family and stuff. And I was really skinny as a child. So probably the teacher went, I mean, the behaviour doesn't match up, but she has got that heroin chic look about her. And
see,
so
the
anyway,
rehab or modelling.
I got called into the head of year the next day. So I got home, my dad got home and thought it was hilarious. And I was like, but you did tell her you were joking, right? He's like, no.
Dad, there's some maintenance you have to do with this.
Yeah, you have to put this right because I've got to go to school tomorrow. And I just was like, can we have a word? And it was my form tutor in the head. And they knew something was up.
Can I have a word is a sentence you never want to hear. It's like when I ever in hospitality, Reuben, can you just come into my office? We have to have a chat.
Yeah.
A chat? Can I just go now then?
Yeah, exactly.
You're about to fire me. Can I leave?
Well, it's just because I knew what he'd done. He told me what he'd done. And of course, I told my friends who thought it was hilarious. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not hilarious, is it? I'm going to have to go and deal with this. And then I just got taken into this. And I had to say to them, this is my dad's idea of a joke. And they were like, right.
Did they believe you?
They believed me, but also it's like, it's not funny, is it? I'm like, yeah, but you need to give my dad the bollocking.
Yeah. I'm not the one who put it up to this. Is not my sense of humour.
Exactly. This is between you and him. Like, I can't.
What was your mum's personality like?
So my mum was sort of like me, really. So my mum was one of 9 kids.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and she was the 4th, I think, of 9.
That poor
and
grandmother's pelvis.
Oh my God, I mean, she lived to 95, so...
Yeah, but she was ovulating sand by the end of it.
We worked out she spent like 7 years of her life being pregnant or something, and, it's madness. But anyway, she had all these kids in a 3-bedroom council house in Kent, And so my mum just sort of had to fend for herself, really, because she had, there's 5 little ones after her or however many. And so my mum just read, and there's a lot of...
She just read, isn't she? Just a bookworm.
Just a bookworm. Just used to sit. So my mum now, you could put her in a field with bombs going off and she'd be able to sit and read a book in it because she's just used to the chaos happening around her and she just goes into her own little...
Some kind of escape, I guess.
Yeah, escape, yeah. And I think she's always been like that, sort of growing up with everything going on at home and stuff. And obviously, they divorced and all of this. But my mum, I think, was able to just go to her own little... And I think I've got a bit of both my parents, depending on my mood and how tired I am.
And do they? Well, obviously not your dad now, but your mum knows that you do stuff about her in the act.
She does. She does. I mean, I lie about my mum. That's the thing. What my mum is for me in stand-up, and she sort of loves it. She doesn't mind that I lie about her because I think my mum is the sort of. She's the mouthpiece for the stupid things. Yeah. And it's just good shorthand to go, my mum said this.
Absolutely. Same with me. I clear jokes with mum. Go, hey, mum, do you mind if I put these words in your mouth? Or do you mind if I say this? And mum often goes, that's a good joke. Yeah. Because also, my mum tends to come off very smart, but not necessarily the most kind.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
From
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
'Cause it's a German mum, so there's a part that's being expanded upon there.
Right.
But you use yours to be sort of like
Sort of a bit dumb, really, which
Yeah.
she's not, but she's sort of fine with it because she'll go, I didn't say that afterwards.
But also, there's thing like, oh my god, I love a bit of the attention,
Exactly.
and she if she's smart enough, then she gets it.
Exactly. And I think she'd rather I'm talking about my mum than not talking about my mum, as if she doesn't exist,
Yeah.
And so she's fine with that. And she loves it. She loves what I do. She loves coming to watch. She'll bring her friends.
Oh, that's
she's really
great.
supportive. So yeah, it's great.
Do you ever find parts of them coming out in the act?
So, I mean, I look like my mum, so I can't escape
Yeah.
that. I like look in the mirror and go, oh, fucking hell, there she is. So you sort of can't escape it. But I think I'm more like my dad in many ways. And the kind of, the attention seeking from my dad, very much. And the sort of wanting to be on the sort of focus of, and I think it comes from, because I'm not good in a one-to-one situation. Where I'm more like my mum is, my dad was great at parties. Like, my dad would be at a party and he'd have everyone around him and he'd be the raconteur and that's not who I am. And it's funny because people think that's who comedians are.
Always, but actually,
And we're not. And I think partly that ADHD social battery thing, and also if I'm on a stage with a microphone in my hand, it is always my turn to speak.
Yep.
I'm not having to wait for social cues about, am I talking too much? Am I not talking enough?
there's a sense of purpose.
There's a sense of purpose. There's a reason you're there, and you're waiting for a particular reaction, so you know immediately whether you've succeeded or failed.
You just got to wait for one cue. You don't have to interpret anything.
No.
You just know, laugh, good. Silence, not good.
Not good, And even compared to like acting or anything, you do a
Acting is
play.
terrifying.
and then you-
Sharing a space.
Yeah, and then you have to go away and wait for the reviews to see if you're any good or not, or whatever.
God,
But
I'm the worst. I read reviews all the time.
do you? Me too. And however much my agent says, just don't do it. It's like, well, you don't live in my head. I think
No?
also for me, I don't know, and I think for most performers, like what I say about myself is worse than any reviewer has ever said.
Absolutely.
So whatever they say that's negative, usually I'll go, yeah, they were right. That night I wasn't really feeling it. Or that night I did do that. Or actually that's a bit of the show that I've always thought was a bit lazy and they've just said what's true. Most of the time I'll broadly agree with them. Sometimes you look at it like you've got an agenda and whatever.
Pick and mix, pick and mix. It's time for us to do pick and mix. It's now time for the pick and mix, where you dip your hand into the sweetie jar of childhood experience and pick what could you pick? Maybe the banana of trauma, or maybe the freckle or the button of joy. Family hellholes.
Got any recollections of family vacations?
You have picked family hellholes. What's a holiday you can tell us about?
So, well, all my childhood holidays, really, because I was from a camping family.
Oh, no.
Or worse, pontins. It was either camping or pontins.
What's a
So
pontins?
pontins is, imagine a prison camp, but with entertainment.
I'm imagining Chicken Run, but with sequins.
Kinda,
Yeah.
yeah. Pontins is like, have you heard of Butlins? It's
I've
that
heard
sort
of
Okay,
Butlins,
so
yeah.
it's that sort. So Pontins is like a poor man's Butlins.
Butlins didn't exactly sound like something for the aristocracy.
No,
Okay.
no. So right, imagine Centre Parks, but exclusively for kids off council estates. That's Pontins.
Fab.
So it was like as a kid, I loved it because there was entertainment and there was crazy golf and there was stuff to do in the day, and your parents could just get pissed while you were looked after by some children.
Great.
Who. But it was kind of sleazy as well. It was sort of that 80s
Everything was covered in like
sleazy.
kitty grease and things
kiddie
like
grease,
that.
and then fag ash.
Yeah.
Even though they're looking after children, it
It's
was
not a
that kind
sandpit,
of.
it's an ashtray.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It was. They were, and there was one we went to one year with. This is with my mum and stepdad. So this was after the divorce, and I went with my mum and stepdad to a Pontins, and we were just getting ready to go, and it was down in Dorset somewhere. Which, when I was a kid, Dorset was the other side of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about a 2.5 hour drive, which in Australian terms is next door,
It is
right?
next
That's
door.
like you do that
But
to go
even
to
as a 7-year-old, as a 4-year-old, as whatever, as a kid, it feels like a long haul flight.
so far away. And so my stepdad was always like, we'll leave really early in the morning. We'll miss the traffic. We'll leave really. So we were up at like 4 a.m. or something, getting ready to not to go to the airport, to go to Pontins.
It means you're getting to Pontins at 7 a.m., which I'm
Right.
sure is right when it's peaking.
Oh, man. So we turned on the telly in the morning because, again, that's what you do. You get up in the morning, put the telly on, and the news was on. And there was just this thing about this holiday camp in Dorset that had a meningitis outbreak. And we all looked at it and it was like, that's where we're going today. So my mum's like, well, holiday's off. And my stepdad's like, whoa, we've paid for this, Linda. We're going on holiday. And so they phoned, I think, the holiday camp, and they were like, oh, yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's like there was a meningitis outbreak, but it's all fine now. Like, you'll be perfectly safe.
Yeah. I mean, I think meningitis is something you can be casual about.
It's really casual when you've got a kid. It's fine. And so I remember we went down there, and it was all, and I was quite a worrier of a child,
Well, you had a dad who accused you of being a heroin addict at school. So.
I was an anxious child, it was fair to say. And of course, the more anxious, because it was the 80s when I was a child, you didn't get like, oh, she's quite anxious, let's get her some therapy, or let's get her, it was like, she's anxious, let's chuck her in the swimming pool and see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's, put her in some situations until she's not anxious anymore. That was my dad's way of dealing with it.
Yeah. Have you ever
which is
thought
the
about
wrong
abseiling?
way. Oh my God, the situations he would just put me in. So it was all, I was like, well, I don't really want to die of meningitis, so can we not? And my parents were like, fine, a little bit of meningitis never hurt anyone. So we go off to this holiday camp, and the first thing when we arrive is there's like all these families that arrive, because everyone arrives on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Because it's like the changeover day. You stay for a week or 2 weeks, and so every Saturday's one lot goes and the other lot comes in. And there was like a big meeting with the people from the holiday camp to reassure everyone that it was all going to be fine. Spoiler alert, I didn't get meningitis, but I did spend the whole week of that holiday just going, I'm going to die because of this holiday. I mean, the swimming pool's nice, but it's not that nice that it's worth dying for.
It's really going to set you up for a pandemic now, didn't it?
Yeah,
you were
right.
more prepared than any of us.
Absolutely, I was ready. I'd been to the meningitis camp. I'm fine.
Shall I be mother? And now we have the final gauntlet.
Okay.
The last hurdle you can choose to go through, go over, go under. Mm-hmm. We call this Shall I Be Mother?
Yeah.
And this is where you get to look into my beautiful bloodshot eyes on barely any sleep. And imagine that I'm your... Stop. Imagine that I am your mum, your dad, or a freakish science lab stitched together Frankenstein of the two.
You've got my dad's blonde hair, so I think you could be my dad.
It's natural.
You be my daddy.
I'll be your daddy. What would you say to him now?
Do you know, right, I'm going to be sort of serious in this bit, because there's one thing I want to say to my dad. When my dad died, I was all over the place, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I was miserable, and I just had this big breakup, and I was really... And then he died, and then I sort of started doing comedy and whatever, and I'm married and happily married, and life's good. And I wish he knew that. Do you know what I mean? Because you just go... I think it's fine if your parents die and they know you're all right, because that's what parents want, isn't it? To know that you're going to be all right. And my dad died not knowing that. Like, he used to worry about me. I was, quite depressed kind of in my 20s. And when my dad died at 31, I just wish he'd known. So I'd love him to go, it's all right. It turns out all right. She does find the thing. It is largely thanks to you, and it's going to be fine. So that's what I'd like to tell him. That's a bit sincere, isn't it?
That's really lovely. You've done it now. It's beautiful. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hey, where can our listeners find more of you?
So I've just finished a tour, so I've really timed this badly. However...
No, because this goes out in May.
In May 2024. So
Yeah.
there'll be another tour in probably 2025, so keep an eye out for that.
Right.
But do go to my website. It's just angelabarnescomedy.co.uk. You can sign up. And I have a podcast. Who doesn't? I have a history podcast.
Oh, what's that?
So I'm a bit of a history nerd, and it's called We Are History. And it's me and John O'Farrell, who's a comedy writer, and he writes musicals and stuff. And we just pick stories we like from history, and we call it our less than serious history podcast. So it's funny, it's a bit silly, not like history lessons at school, but you might learn something.
I love that. And thank you for coming to Daddy Angela Barnes.
Thank you for having me.